So I can see a few people. Hello, everyone. If you're able to listen to me, hear me out well, loud and clear, please give me a high five. Say something on the chat so I'll get to know that everything is good. Hey, Gerardo, how are you doing? Are you able to listen to me? Are you able to see my video? Is everything good? Chiran, what's up? Are you able to listen to me? Say hi, hello to each one of you, to me. Just say hello and tell me where are you coming from. Tell me, most importantly, tell me if you're able to listen to me and you're able to see my video. Nice. I'm happy to see things are working today. So we are 5 minutes out. I'll get more people to join in and then we'll start. As you come in, please let me know your name in the chat. I'll give you a hi from here in India. And also let me know where are you coming from, which country, which part of the country in India or outside India, where are you coming from? Hey Prashant, what's up? Great. I'm happy to hear that you're able to hear me and my video is also good. Hey Ibrahim, what time is in Syria? Hey James, what's up? Hi Gurpreet, how are you doing? So I can't really type in as in when people come in, they you put down your name, you put down where are you coming from, and I'll say a hi from here. Hey Pranay, what's up? Chandru, what's up, man? Salesforce Guru, what's your name? Hi, how are you? Hey Subra, what's up? Hi. Let me know where are you coming from, which part of the country, if you're coming from India, and if you're coming from outside, let me know which country are you coming from. Thanks everyone for being here. I didn't do quite well yesterday. We goofed up, so hopefully we'll do well today. Thanks so much for being patient and being understanding. Also, I'm very interested to know that how many of you have heard about and used Power BI or Excel-based business intelligence tools, so which is PowerQuery, PowerPivot, and PowerView, and how much do you use it as of now? So let me know if you use these tools or not in the chat, and I'll get to know that where do I have to start the webinar, what level do I keep the webinar at. Yes, Shubhra, the session is going to be recorded and you can come back and watch the recordings on the same link. Yes. Okay. I can see a lot of people use PowerQuery and PowerQuery, in fact, a lot. Started learning Power BI and DAX. Very nice. Gurpreet, interested to know about Power BI, about BI, yet a newcomer here. Okay, no worries. Okay, we'll start in about 2 minutes. It's 8:57. We'll start in about 2 odd minutes. Hey Harsh, what's up? Is that something related with Pivot? Well, it is, uh, but not really. We'll see today. It just is a nitro boost for a normal pivot table. You can do a lot more with Power Pivot than a regular pivot table, but then you'll have to learn a language called DAX, which is what I will be speaking about in a fair detail today. All right, we have a fair amount of audience here, and people have gathered in. So I'll quickly begin. Um, to everyone who's new around here and who hasn't, who was not able to click on the webinar, join the webinar yesterday, let me tell you that I goofed up yesterday, and we had to make a hiccup yesterday, and we could not start the webinar for some stupid reason. So hopefully we'll do good today. Everything seems to be working up and fine. Hey Suman, what's up? Okay, so I will just begin. Yes, yes, I'll just begin, Suman. Thanks. So I have a presentation that I would like to share with you, and I will just invert my screen and take you to my presentation. Short presentation, not about more than 6 to 7 slides, and we will do a small case study where I'll show you what DAX is, how it works, how is it different from Excel, and then we'll do a lot of question and answer sessions in the end as well. So let's just jump right into this. So let me just invert my screen. Uh, able to see the presentation. I hope you were able to see the presentation. I can see that. Okay, so this webinar is about what is Power Pivot and DAX. Let's just get started. For the people who don't know me and who have been the member of the blog very recently, let me tell you a bit about myself, just about 4 or 5 listicles here. My name is Chandeep Chhabra. I stay in Gurgaon in India. And earlier, I used to work in the investment banking industry for about 4 years in Mumbai. And the nature of my job was such that I had to deal a lot with complicated spreadsheets, especially doing a lot of merger models, acquisition models, fundraising, financial models, that sort of stuff. The nature of my job was such that I had to deal with spreadsheets a lot. So I thought maybe I'll start a business. And I started Goodly in December 2013, which is when I went full time. What I do now, since then, what I've been doing now is that I teach people to solve practical business problems using spreadsheets in Excel. My primary business is I do training for companies in India. And I run a blog, which is goodly.co.in, where I post free stuff about whatever I learn in Excel. And there are a few paid courses as well that people can come and join in. So that's all about my work. Now, I have been personally doing business intelligence and the BI tools of Excel and Power BI for the last 2 odd years now. And it's completely mind blowing in terms of the complexity and the ease with which I can build very sophisticated reports that I was earlier able to do that in Excel, but with a lot of VBA maybe and formulas maybe. And I'm just totally mesmerized with the tool, right? So I'll just show you what this tool is and how it works and stuff. So let's just take a look at what exactly is PowerPivot. If you've not heard about it, what exactly is it? So explicitly speaking, PowerPivot is like an add-in in Excel. So what you do is you install an add-in and it starts to show up in your Excel. Now this add-in is available starting Excel 2010. It is available in 2013 and is available in 2016. Recently, Microsoft made an announcement that PowerPivot is going to be there in all versions of Excel. I don't know when is that going to be, rolled out. But yes, sooner or later you will start seeing PowerPivot in all the versions of Excel. But till the time, you have to continue installing it. And if you don't have the right SKU for now, you would not be able to install it. So all the information about where can you install PowerPivot and which Excel can you install and which Excel can you not install, I'll give it to you later. But for now, PowerPivot is an add-in in Excel, and this is how it looks to you in Excel. So you get an add-in here, right here on the top. Now, that's good enough. Now, this PowerPivot is one of the business intelligence add-ins in Microsoft Excel. Apart from PowerPivot, there are two more add-ins, which is PowerQuery. I'm sure a lot of people have heard about it and they are working actively with it. The second one is PowerPivot, and the third one is PowerView. I'll tell you a quick story. So when I started learning these BI tools, I first learned PowerQuery, and I was totally floored with it. I mean, the ease with which you can automate things inside Power Query is completely incredible. So what Power Query does for you is Power Query sort of does the job of a VBA for you without you to know any kind of code. And you can create queries and you can nearly automate all the data collection and data cleaning tasks. So what Power Query is going to do for you is going to combine, collect, clean, and automate the data for you to use it for further analysis. Now, once you've cleaned the data through Power Query, you move on to the second tool and you start analyzing data through Power Pivot. Now, what I've seen is that Power Query is relatively simple to understand, but Power Query can't really do a lot of very, very sophisticated calculations, which Power Pivot can do. And the final one is Power View, which is where you start to visualize the reports in terms of charts and graphs and stuff like that. So this webinar is specifically speaking about the capabilities of Power Pivot. I'll just move on. So this is all good, but what can it do for you? Power Pivot can solve three major problems that a lot of people working with data often face. Number one is that if you've been working with, in the MIS kind of role or in kind of data role, strategy role, planning role, where you have to deal with a lot of data, one of the major problems is data volume, and which is going up tremendously these days with all the technology and automated data collection process and stuff like that. So data volume is one thing that Power Pivot can handle tremendously well. I mean, I've seen people working with as high as about maybe 30 million, 40 million rows of data inside Excel using Power Pivot. I've not seen it, but I've read people using as high as 300 million rows inside Power Pivot or 400 million rows inside Power Pivot, and it just works fine with a standard laptop. The second problem that Power Pivot solves for you is that it can do extremely sophisticated calculations for which you either have to write very long formulas, or simply you will have to do a lot of rough work inside Excel, like make a pivot table on top of that, make another pivot table, make a pivot table, and then write a VLOOKUP on that and things like that. So Power Pivot can do extremely sophisticated calculations with great ease, right? That's the second benefit. And the third benefit, which is the most important benefit, is the calculation portability. I can't really explain to you with words what calculation portability means, but I'll show it to you actually when we start working with the data. So calculation portability, if I just have to quickly put it in words, means that let's say you're trying to analyze sales and you have maybe found out what is the monthly sales of whatever, right? And suddenly your boss turns around and says, hey, I don't really want the monthly sales. Give me product-wise sales, or give me category-wise sales, something like that. So if you have done a lot of work to find out monthly sales, you will have to do a lot of work to find product-wise or category-wise sales. That stuff is almost negligible or no work at all in PowerPivot, because there is something called as calculation portability or measure portability in real terms. I'll exactly talk about it when we actually do the case, but as of now, there are three major problems that PowerPivot solves. So data volume, no problem. Calculation sophistication, no problem. Calculation portability, no problems. You can handle the data, slice and dice data through various scenarios. Now, how does PowerPivot work? So there is a language inside PowerPivot which is called DAX. DAX stands for Data Analysis Expressions, Data Analysis Expressions. And that's a formula language. So just like the way you have formulas in Excel, like sum, average, count, index, VLOOKUP, match, and all that kind of stuff. Similarly, you have formulas inside DAX. And formulas don't work the same way as they work in Excel. They work a lot differently in PowerPivot. But yes, this is a formula language just as the way that you have in Excel. Now, this formula language is common in Excel-based PowerPivot if you have an add-in, or if you're working with Power BI, you can learn the same language DAX, and you can kind of transfer the knowledge to Power BI as well. So Power BI supports DAX. Excel-based PowerPivot also supports DAX language. Although Power BI, the DAX language in Power BI is a lot more richer and gives you a lot more flexibility to do even more sophisticated calculations that you could do it in PowerPivot, but it's pretty close what it is in Excel and what it is in Power BI as well. So let's just move on to the next slide. Now I have a short demo where I'll show you what PowerPivot can do. I'll show you some data. We'll take a look at a few questions, and let's see how can we solve them. So let me just stop sharing the screen. Come back here, and so far so good. Everybody, are you able to follow up whatever I'm saying? Just give me a thumbs up and I'll get started with the case study. All good? Is everything good? Are you able to listen to me? Did you see the slide? Are you good? Can I go ahead and start with the case study? Hey Atul, if you're the same Atul that I know, good to see you here. All right, I'll get started with the case study. So I'm just going back to my screen. All right, so I have a Excel spreadsheet in front of me, and I'd like to show you some data. So take a look here. This is a normal sales transaction data. So we have the first column as transaction ID. This is the unique column against which you will run a VLOOKUP in case you want to do that. And then we have the date of the transaction. That means which day did you make a sale? Then we have the region. Which region did you make a sale? Was it New Delhi, Mumbai? This could be any region. Then what product was sold? So we have the product ID here. How many units did you sell? And then what channel did you use? Did you use a promotion? Like, did you give ads in the TV and stuff? Or did you use affiliates? Affiliates meaning somebody else selling for you. Or organic. Somebody just came to your website and just bought the product, right? So three channels: promotional, affiliate, and organic. And in case an affiliate is selling your product, you would have an affiliate code, right? Otherwise, you will have nil for promotion and for organic. Then finally, you have the interval. That means, are you selling seasonal or off-seasonal? Like, which season did you make the sale in, right? So random stuff around here. If I ask you a quick question here, what is the total sales here? I mean, sales in terms, not in terms of units, but sales in terms of the money. Like, how much total money are you making in the entire maybe 1 or 2 years of this transaction data? Now, if you just take a look at this data, we have only these columns, and you would not be able to find total sales because you have the name of the product, you have how many units did you sell, but you don't have the selling price of the product, so you would not be able to find it unless I give you that this product, is sold for what price. So for that, you will have to go and take a look at the products table, which is on the right hand side. So we have the same product code as we had it in the sales table. So the same product ID is mentioned here. we have the type of the product. That means what is it? Like, is it an ebook? Is it a template? Is it a course? What is it? And the full name of the product. This is just the code, like the unique code, and this is the full name of the product. And then we have the category. That means, is it a low-end product, a giveaway, a free product, a premium product? What is it? What is it exactly? And then what is the price of the product? So exactly how much money do you sell it for? And finally, if you're paying a commission on the product, how much commission are you paying on that? Now, obviously, if you try to solve that using Excel, I'm sure what you would do is you would add another column here. Maybe you write a VLOOKUP, search for the product ID, search it in the products table, and maybe pick up the fifth column. I believe the fifth column is for the selling price, and you'll hit enter. Leaving the VLOOKUP last part empty is the same as writing a 0, so I'm just not writing a 0, and I get the price here. Now, once you've got the price here, you probably call this as price, or you would directly name this as sales and multiply that with the number of units, and then you got the sales. And now you would make a pivot table out of this table, and you will get to know your sales, which is absolutely cool. Now, what if I ask you another question that, okay, fine, this is good enough. What is your total commission? Now, note that the commission is only paid to an affiliate. You would not pay a commission on promotion. You would not pay a commission on the organic. You would just pay a commission to the affiliate. Then how would you do that? So you'll have to write another VLOOKUP and get the commission percentage on the product applicable and bring it back to your sales table. And maybe this time, but a regular VLOOKUP will not work because it's going to get you commission applied for all the products, but you don't really want that. You only want to do that in case you have a channel as affiliate. So you'll write an if-based VLOOKUP. If the channel is equal to affiliate, then run the VLOOKUP. Otherwise, do not run the VLOOKUP. That's how something you will write the VLOOKUP, right? Cool. Now these are easy questions. You can do it with ease. Now let's just take a look at a couple of tricky questions, right? The tricky ones are accrued commission. Accrued commission meaning, take a look. Just take a look at this sales table here, right? So on 3rd of January, I'm talking about row number 8 here. On 3rd of January, we made a sale, right? And this sale was made by an affiliate. The code of that affiliate was 3LL. Now, on 3rd of January, he made the sale, but he got the commission on 1st of March. That means there is a nearly 2 months lag between when he earned the commission versus when we paid out the commission. And during those 2 months, I would like to show the commission as accrued. I mean, we had a liability of paying out the commission, but the liability was on us. We did not pay it out. So we would like to show that as accrued commission. Now, what if somebody asks you that I want to find out accrued commission month by month by the category of the product? Category of the product meaning free products, giveaway products. What is the category right here? So free products, low-end products, medium segment products, and premium segment products. How would you find accrued commission month on month by the category of the product? Now, this is going to be slightly a tricky question, right? Take a look at another question. What if somebody asks you, how much are the 3 best-selling products in each category contributing, right? So you'll have to maybe find out the best-selling products by month on month, and then find out the category, maybe apply a VLOOKUP, get the category also inside, and then arrange the pivot table from largest to smallest, and then do it from that method. Now, another tricky question could be, what are these products and their sales, right? If somebody asks you how much is the 3 best products selling, that's one question. What if somebody asks you, tell me the name of these 3 best products? That's another question. This is one of my favorite questions. How many $100 days do we have in the entire year? So if you belong to the retail industry where daily transaction matters to you a lot, this becomes a very, very intriguing question. So how many good days did you have? If $100 in one single day is what you call as a good day, I would like to find out that how many good days do we have, and product by product, which products are bringing me the good days in the entire year, and I'd like to have more of such days. These are tricky questions to solve, right? Let's just see if we can solve these questions using PowerPivot. Although I'm not denying that you can't solve these questions using Excel, you can, but then you'll have to do a lot of pivot table and formula work, mix and match it together, and then find out the result. And just in case, if as of now, I'm asking $100 days in the entire year, product wise, what if I turn around the question and tell you that, tell me how many $100 days in the entire year you're having, maybe by season, off season and seasonal. So then you'll have to do again all the formal alchemy work. And because you often work with a lot of large volume data, Excel tremendously slows down and doesn't let you do that work. All right, so let's just take a look at how are we going to solve these, say, 5 or 6 questions using Power Pivot in Excel. And you will probably use the same way in Power BI as well. I'll just give you a quick demo later about Power BI as well. But as of now, let's just do that in Power Pivot using Excel. So I've already, kind of done some work around Power Pivot. So let me just delete that and maybe do fresh for the webinar. So what I'll do is I'll first take this data to Power Pivot. So I'll click on Power Pivot. I'll click on the Manage button right here. And this opens up a Power Pivot window in front of me. And you can see that I have already got sales, products, and the calendar table right inside my Power Pivot. I'll just keep the calendar table and I'll delete the sales table and the products table, and I'll kind of create relationships, right? So let's just delete it and I'll just do it again for you. So delete, yes. Sales, delete, yes. All right, I just have the calendar table, which I'll keep it, and I'll just get these data sets inside my Power Pivot. Now, how do I take the data inside Power Pivot? The easiest way to do that is click on Power Pivot and click on Add to Data Model. This table is going to go inside Power Pivot. And you have the sales tables right away in Power Pivot. And then you go to the products table, go to Power Pivot and Add to Data Model. And the product table also goes inside Power Pivot. Now, let me just go and show you what this looks like. Now, the same data is now in Power Pivot window. And as of now, if I was doing this work in Excel, I would have to write a VLOOKUP inside Excel to do that kind of work. Now, in Power Pivot, although there is a VLOOKUP, but that VLOOKUP is somewhat called as a relationship inside Power Pivot. So I'm going to go in the Relationship tab, click on Diagram View, and Diagram View gives me a view of all the tables that have been loaded inside Power Pivot. So let's just take a look at how relationships work. So if I were to find out sales, I'll have to write a VLOOKUP, and keeping the product ID as the common column, I'll have to create a relationship or maybe write a VLOOKUP between the sales table and the products table, right? Where the product code is the common column and product ID is the common column here. So I'll not write a VLOOKUP, instead I'll create a relationship. And how do I create a relationship? From the transactions table, which is my sales table, I'll draw an arrow. I mean, just kind of drag this stuff and take it to here. I'll kind of link it up here and the relationship is set up. And the date has a relationship with the calendar table. So I'll take the date and create a relationship right here. Now there are two relationships right here. And this is good. Now relationship in Power Pivot purely means that, hey, between this table and this table, product code is the common column. And just in case I need to apply a VLOOKUP, only then apply a virtual VLOOKUP. But as of now, don't stuff my pivot, my sales table with more and more columns of VLOOKUP. This is what technically this means, right? Creating a relationship. And by the way, if you have a product code duplicated inside the products table, the relationship will give you an error. It will ask you to have unique product codes, and only then the relationship can be set up. All right, now once the relationship is there, I am going to go and click on the pivot table and create a new pivot table. So new worksheet, and I have a pivot table right here. And where's the field list? The field list, I just got it here. Now, you wouldn't have seen a pivot table like this before. I mean, what you see is, the sales table, and you don't see three tables inside your pivot table. So I have my sales table here, I have my products table here, and I have my calendar table here. Normally, you would just get your sales table, and you will create more and more columns inside the sales table to drag it into the values area. This is what you generally do. But Power Pivot, with the help of relationships, I can get all my tables inside my single data model. All right. So now I first find out the sales. So what I do is I write something called as a measure. Now measure is something which, I mean, if you work something like this, I mean, if you've ever went to the Analyze tab and you have gone to field item sets and used a calculated field here, a measure is somewhat sort of that, but measure inside Power Pivot is a lot more powerful thing like a formula that you can use to drive calculations inside PowerPivot. And because I'm working with PowerPivot, calculated field is not highlighted here. Now, you write a measure inside PowerPivot and you use which language? DAX language, data analysis expressions. So let's just write a small measure. The measure is going to give us what? The measure is going to give us total sales. So I'm just going to right click on the sales here, add a measure, and I'll say that the name of the measure is total sales. And I'll say that, so going every single row inside my sales table, so SumX sales, and then write a VLOOKUP. So related is nothing but a VLOOKUP, and get me the price of the product and multiply the price with the units inside which table? The sales table. This is going to give me the total sales of the product. Let me just convert it to a currency. I'll say okay and okay. Now this is my formula. Now in this small webinar, I can't really explain to you how SumX works, how related works, but I'm just showing you the power of what a PowerPivot and DAX measures can do if you start using them on a regular basis to analyze your data. So this is good. Check that formula. This is all good. Say add, and you just like have a total sales measure. You just have it. Now I'm just going to drag that to the values area, and you can see my total sales is 49,111. Now maybe I'd like to have monthly sales. So I'll just drag my month inside my rows. I'll drag my year on top of that, and I have monthly sales right here. Let's just also activate the subtotals right here. So subtotals at the, let's say, the topic group. All right. So the entire 2011, you sold 18,327. In 2012, you sold 30,784. The total of that is 49,111. And this is the monthly sales. Now, when I was showing you the presentation, let me just go back and come back on this slide. And I told you about three things that PowerPivot solves. So the first problem was data volume. As of now, I'm just working with about 1,000 rows of data. I particularly did not choose to work with enormous volumes of data because, you know, I have to write a VLOOKUP and my computer is going to break down if I work with maybe 10, 20 million rows of data. So I purposefully chose a smaller data set, but you can go ahead and work with larger volumes of data as well. Second is complexity of the calculations. We'll move on to definitely more complex calculations in a moment. But what I want to talk about now is calculation portability. Now, please take a look now. I'll go back to my model. As of now, I have created a pivot table and a DAX measure, which gives me total sales, right? Now, what if somebody turns around and says that, hey, I don't really want the sales by months. I want a sales by different categories. That means how much money am I making in the low segment products, the medium segment products, and the high segment products. All that you have to do is remove the months from here, from the products table, get your category right inside the rows, and you have category-wise sales. It's as simple as that. The measure, which is total sales, is automatically going to adjust to the question that you're asking from the pivot table. This question, in technical terms, means filter context. So as soon as you kind of change that, it automatically revises the numbers and gives you the updated answers. Let's just take a look at the commission as well. So I'm just going to add another measure, and I'm going to write total commission, or let's say commission earned. Now, remember that I asked you two questions. So one is commission earned, the other one is accrued commission. So commission earned is when you're actually earning the commission, right? And commission accrued is how much of money have you not been paid, which is actually going to be the difference of the earned commission and paid commission. So I'm just going to do that in a quick way. So I'm saying that, hey, go inside SumX, every single row of the sales table, and write an if statement. So if the channel of the sales is equal to affiliate, in that case, calculate total sales and multiply that with the commission, which is kept in the products table. Now, like I said, I can't really explain the formula to you in just about a small time, but this is what this formula is going to do. Is what this DAX measure is going to do is this DAX measure is going to calculate commission. So let's just take a look. Currency, all okay. This is all good. And I say, okay, now I'm just going to add it to my values area. And immediately I have commission earned. Note that in my PowerPivot, I am not writing any kind of VLOOKUP, right? There is no lookup. which is looking up in the products table and finding out the commission. Although I'm doing that in the measure, which is a formula, but I'm not really doing that in my sales table, right? Which is what you would usually do inside your Excel. All right, so I have the total sales and I have the commission earned, and just as the way that I told you, calculation portability, somebody turns around and asks you another question. Hey, don't show me the commission by category, show me monthly commission. How am I paying out the commissions monthly? Take the commission out, no problem, and get the months inside from the calendar table, and this is your commission paid out monthly. This is beautiful. Now let's just move on to the tricky question, right? More tricky questions. Now, the first tricky question is accrued commission, month on month by category. Now, let me just explain that to you real quick. Accrued commission meaning you are paying like making the sale on the 3rd of January. So the affiliate earns the commission on the 3rd, but the payout happens 2 months later on the 1st of March. So in between that time, the commission is accrued. That means you are liable to pay it, but you haven't paid it. So for the month of January, for the month of February, I would like to show accrued commission, right? Let's just do that in PowerPivot. How are you going to do that? I mean, if you start doing that in Excel, it's going to be a lot of work, but let's just do that in PowerPivot. And then I'll then show you what is calculation portability. All right, so I'm just going to go back to pivot table number 3 right here, and I'll calculate something called as accrued commission. Now, obviously, accrued commission is going to be calculated with the difference of whatever you have paid. So let's say, for example, if you've earned this much and you've paid this much, the difference of the two is going to be your accrued commission. So I go back to PowerPivot, I click on manage, and I'm in the PowerPivot window. I click on the diagram view, and I establish one more relationship with the calendar table, and I say that, hey, the default relationship is between the date of the sale and the calendar date, but what I'd like to also make a relationship is between the affiliate payout. That means when are you actually paying him out? So make a relationship between this and this, right? So there is one active relationship, the dotted one is an inactive relationship, and I'm just going to activate that relationship just for a few calculations, right? So I'm just going to go back here. I mean, even if you don't understand the stuff as of now, like how exactly this is working, it's absolutely fine, because I'm not really teaching you the nitty-gritties of the DAX measures and how it works and stuff like that. I'm showing you the power of it, right? So I come back to the pivot table and I add a measure, and I'm just going to say commission paid this time, commission paid. And I'm going to say equals to calculate what? Calculate my total commission, commission earned, and commission earned is going to be calculated under the relationship of my sales table, affiliate payout date, and my calendar table date, and that's about it. This is, I think, should be okay. Currency, okay, and commission paid. So just take a look. Now, this is quite an interesting pivot table, right? So in the month of January, all your affiliates earned 30 as a commission, but you paid out how much? 12 as what you paid out. The balance of that is accrued, right? So I can just take 30 and I can just subtract it from 12 and I'll get the balance. Now, if you were working this in Excel, what you would technically do is you will write a formula outside here. You will say 30 minus 12 and you will get the balance as 18. But this is fine. But what if somebody asks you to revise the pivot table? Somebody says, hey, don't make the pivot table monthly. Give me product by product. How much commission is accrued? Then you would be in a real mess. So don't do that. We'll create another measure, right? So I'll just delete that off, and I'll now create something called as commission accrued. Commission accrued, right? And now commission accrued is going to be nothing but your earned commission. Where is it? So commission earned minus commission paid is your commission accrued. And I'm just going to give it a currency and check tax. Okay, all this is good, and I get commission accrued. And I pull this in right here, and this is my accrued commission. So 30 is what people earned. 12 is what I paid out. The balance is accrued commission. This is beautiful. This calculation is going to take a hell lot of time in Excel, right? And you can see that there are a couple of minus numbers here. So people just earned 15, but you paid 27. You can't really have a negative accrual. So I'll just turn that off. So what I'll do is I'll write an if formula inside this to just kind of fix it up nicely. So I'll say if this value, in fact, let me just put a bracket here. If this value is giving you a value which is less than 0, in that case, return a blank. If this is not a blank, in that case, just give me commission earned minus commission paid, right? I think this is going to solve the problem. Currency, okay, and I don't have the numbers. Now, how did I ask the question? The question was, accrued commission month on month by category, right? So I'll just come up here, month on month by category. So this is month on month, which is good. And I also want to get the category inside. So I'll just get the category inside. And now take a look. Giveaways, obviously, they are free products, so no commission on that. So commission is obviously 0. Low-end products, right? So commission earned was 1, commission paid was 1, accrued commission. Actually, this is not really correct because it's going to be a decimal point here. So if I just edit the measure, increase the decimal numbers here, this is 0.84, edit the measure, increase the decimal numbers, 0.51, and edit the measure, increase the decimal numbers. Now this makes sense. So you earned 1.35, 0.51, which is about a 0.50 was paid out of it, and 0.84 was the balance, which is nothing but the sum of these two. Now this is incredible, right? Now if somebody wants to know that, hey, which person earned which commission, so all that you do is remove the category, get the affiliate code right inside. Now just take a look. This guy, 3LL, he earned 17 as a commission in the month of January, but he was only paid 4 out of that, and this is pending. So this is quite incredible, right? And this guy, 2FS, all of what he earned in this month was accrued, right? So this is quite powerful. And just take a look, 2F earned this in the month of January, 2.61, and then he was paid the same amount in the month of Feb. This goes out in the month of Feb. So this is quite incredible in terms of the analytics that you can do with this. Take a look at the next tricky question. How much are 3 best-selling products in each category contributing? I mean, just going to do a little faster because we're just running short of time. So 3 best products. So I'll just say top 3 products. And this is going to be top 3 product sales. And so I'll write something called as top n. Top n helps me find the top n value. So I'll say top 3, and I want to do that in the products table, and I want to order these products by total sales, right? Now this is going to give me a table. So I'll say, hey, go inside every single row of this table and calculate what? Calculate total sales. Close the bracket, check DAX, this is all good. Currency, okay. All right, so if I just drag that here, and let me just also keep, removing the things that I have already discussed about. Now take a look at the total sales here. So the total sales in the month of January is about 1,200, and 600 is coming from 3 products only. This is quite incredible. Now, if you don't believe me, let's just do that. I mean, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to get the name of the product from the products table and put it right inside here. Now, obviously, and let's just sort this pivot table from largest to smallest. So just take a look. The 3 best products in the month of January are Balance Sheet Template 1.1, Project Finance, and Practical Business Modeling course. Now, if I add these products, the total of them is going to be 633. Let's just add them. And yes, it is. Just take a look at the bottom. The total of the 3 products is definitely 633. So my answer is absolutely correct. Now, if you started doing that with normal Excel, it would be a hell lot of task for you. Now, just as I said, these measures that you create using the DAX formula language are portable. So I can change the question of my pivot table. As of now, I'm taking a look at by month. I would not like to take a look at by month. Maybe I'd like to take a look at by quarter. Now, in the entire Q1 of 2011, my sales was 3404, 3400, and 15 was coming from that. So maybe about 35-40% of that. How much is that? 15 by 34. About 44% of the sales is coming from the 3 products only. And if you again drag the product inside your pivot table, you will get to know that this number is absolutely correct. Now, these things are quite difficult in Excel. Now, one more question I'd like to solve it for you. What are these products and their sales, right? So you show this pivot table to your boss and he says, oh, this is cool. But hey, can you just go ahead and tell me that which are these products? I mean, what is the name of the product? Can you find out the name? My friends, you can find out the name in PowerPivot. Let me just show you a very, very interesting measure. So I'll say name of top 3 products. So I'll say, excuse me, I'll say that, hey, top end table, 3 products, and in the products table, and order them by total sales, right? Now, this is good. And I'll say concatenate X, that means join the names in this table and get me the name of the product. So products table, product, and the delimiter is a comma. Separate the names by, let's just say, the pipe symbol, and order them by total sales. Now, even if you don't understand the measure, that's fine. I'm just showing you the capability that this brings to you, right? So this is a DAX measure, and this is now this measure, people, is going to give you the name of the product, right? I mean, if you've worked with pivot table for a very, very long time, you know that when you drag something inside the values area, it can give you a count, it can give you a sum, it can give you an average, it can give you a max, min, but it can't give you a text. Take a look. How beautiful is that? Now, in Q1, 1,500 was the sale amount generated by these 3 products: balance sheet template 1.1, practical business modeling course, and the cash flow modeling course. Let's just take a look if these numbers are right or not. So what I'm going to do is just remember these numbers. In fact, I'm just going to copy them and put it on the right hand side, value paste them. And then just take that out for a while and then get the product inside right in here. And again, sort this by largest to smallest. All good. Now take a look. Three best products. So cash flow modeling course, practical business modeling course, and balance sheet template 1.1. Did we have those? Let's just take a look. Balance sheet 1.1, practical business modeling course, and cash flow modeling course. Now this is going to be really, really tough to do that with Excel, right? Getting the names of the products. Now, if I remove the product from here, I remove the quarters from here, and I just get the measure that I just created, name of three best-selling products, I can know in the entire year where did I have the best-selling products. So in the entire year, these 3 products were the best-selling products, and that's about it. I think I'll have to fix the measure because here's a blank and it's still giving me some values here. So if I just write an if around it, it'll just kind of fix it up. If total sales is equal to blank, and blank else this. Okay, and this goes away. This is absolutely fine. All right, so this is how the DAX measure works, which gives you the names of the 3 best-selling products. Let's just get to the monthly pivot table that we were working with, and I'll drag the months inside the rows, and this is all good. All right, we are at 9:40. I'll quickly do it the last question as well, the last tricky question. How many $100 days do we have in the entire year product-wise? So I'm just going to come here. Now, if you take a look at the data, the data is a transactional level data. I'll tell you what the problem is in finding $100 days. Every single transaction is one single row of your data. That means 2nd January is one row, 3rd January is one row. Not one row, I mean 3rd January can have 2 rows, 3 rows, 4th January can have 1 row, 6th of January has got 3 rows because there are 3 transactions that happen. Now what I'd like to do is, the total of 2nd January, is it more than 100 or not? The total of 3rd January, is it more than 100 or not? The total of 6th January, is it more than 100 or not? So I'll have to change the granularity level of my data from a transactional data to a single date row data. That means every single row has to be a single date, and I need to have the total sales of that date for me to find out that is it really $100 day or not. This is going to be hard inside a pivot table. I mean, if you try to do that using a pivot table and a normal Excel, you would make a pivot table from this data, and then on top of the pivot table, you would make another pivot table. That's how you would change the granularity of the data. So here is how I would do that in DAX. Like I said, I'm just going to write a measure using DAX. So I'll just keep that out, come inside here and write a measure. So I'm just going to write $100 days equals to, what do I say? So I'll say that go inside every single row of this table. I have some X table, and then get me the unique dates from the date of the sale, and write an if the total sales is greater than 100. In that case, I'd like to count as one. Otherwise, I'd like to count as a blank. See if that works. This is okay, and say okay. And $100 days is right here. Now that is pretty incredible. In the month of January, I had $400 days, right? Now, if you just go back to this data and you and mathematically calculate that using manual methods or whatever, you would find that this answer is pretty much accurate. So in the entire 1.5 years of data, I mean, we have 2012 running up till August, that's the data end. You will find that in the entire 1.5 years, you've had 203 $100 days in 1.5 years of time. This is pretty incredible. And like I said, this is a measure, and measure is portable. So if I remove the month from here, and maybe I would want to see by interval, that means how many $100 days do I have in off season and how many seasonal $100 days. This is pretty much. Now take a look. In 2011, we have 10 off seasonal $100 days. In just about up till August, I mean, this is not the full year data, up till August, we are 3x of the $100 days. This is pretty much a very good insight that you would find it very hard to get with normal Excel. So this is what you can do with DAX formulas. DAX is a language that you have to learn, and you can kind of write measures, and you can slice and dice the data by any field inside your pivot table. And the same DAX formula works in Power BI as well. So I have Power BI open, and let's just take a look. This is the same model. I mean, it's a little complex model. This is what I teach inside my training. And this is a complicated model, and this has got a lot of measures. So if you just take a look at your sales table, I have a lot of measures here. And the measures, let's just take a look at, let's say, average order value or average refund days. Now, this is a measure. And you can see that I use the same formula language as I have used inside my PowerPivot. The only difference is that you write it here, and maybe you present it right here on the empty canvas. You make a pivot table right here, or whatever chart or whatever you like to make it. So the language remains the same. It's just that Power BI enriches the language, has got more options in terms of more formulas, more additional options, additional stuff that you can do with DAX language. But the language essentially is more or less the same. Whew, that was a long speech. I'll come back to my screen. All right. Did I make sense? I mean, can you give me a heads up? Are you still able to see my screen, able to see me, listen to my voice? All good? Did it sink in whatever I spoke? Okay. So Sabri Nath is asking a question. Can we do a filter and select top 3 or top 10 instead of creating a condition? Yes, I'll answer the questions later. But as of now, you just if you have a question regarding whatever I have done, please note it down on a piece of a notepad. I will be here and answer as many questions as you would like, but I'll definitely answer. So just write down the questions that you have. All right. I'll take you back to the presentation. A few more slides remaining, just about 2 or 3. All right. So what I'm doing is recently I just concluded two sessions, one in Delhi, one in Mumbai. And in these sessions, these were 2 days long sessions where I taught people PowerQuery. How do you write a query? How do you um, consolidate data, all the cleaning stuff. And then most of the time I spent on the analytics. How can you make sophisticated analytics and you can present it in a form of a dashboard and completely automate your work? So I'm just doing the same training over a webinar this time. So I'll be teaching you Power Query, I'll be teaching you Power Pivot, which is data analytics, and I'll be teaching you Power View and visualizations as well. And I'll be spending most of my time on Power Pivot, which is the second part, which is where I'll teach you a lot of sophisticated measure writing, the things that I've just discussed as of now. I'll teach you how it works. I'll explain to you every nitty-gritty and things like that. Now, in terms of complexity, I will rate Power Query as 3 on 5. I will rate DAX and Power Pivot as maybe 4.5 or maybe 4 on 5. And I'll rate Power View as maybe no dots on 5, but I'll still give it 1. Because Power View is extremely easy. I mean, all that you have to do is just drag and drop, drag and drop. It's like a video game that you set it up for your boss, and your boss can happily play around with that video game all day long. Right? So I'll be teaching you all the three things. I'll be teaching you Power Query, I'll be teaching you Power Pivot, which is where I'll be spending most of my time. And I'll also be teaching you visualizations, right? Now, how will the webinar training work? So what we will do is, you and I will log in every weekend. I have set some schedule and we will connect over a WebEx. I will log in from my home, you will log in from your home, and every weekend in the evening we'll be connecting and we'll be doing a training. Now, this is the schedule. So the first the first training is happening on the 12th of August, which is for 3 hours. I mean, every session is going to be for 3 hours, and we'll do it in the evening, 7:30 to 10:30 in the evening. And so Saturday 12th August, and then Saturday 18th August, and then Sunday 19th August. And if required, we will do an extra session on the 26th August. If you have any questions or if you're left out with some stuff, we will do an extra session if required. So I'm presuming it will finish at about 12 odd hours. I will do that training and you can log in from your home. I'm looking at a smaller batch size of about 12 folks. And if you would like, you can register. Now, if you are like a data analyst or a data jockey and you crunch a lot of numbers for your company and your entire work revolves around Excel, I will strongly recommend you that you learn this stuff. I mean, this is incredibly powerful stuff. It can work on volumes of data. It can help you do things, calculations that your bosses wouldn't even have dreamt of in their dreams. You'll be able to do that kind of stuff. Now, a little bit about the fee of the session. If you're an Indian participant, the fee is 12,000 rupees for the complete training. You will get the recordings of the training once I'm over, and all the exercises and everything, you'll also get it. And if you're an international participant not coming from India, the fee is $199. What you can do is, if you want to register right away for the training, you can go to goodly.co.in, and you will, in the menu bar, you will find something called as BI training. The BI training has got all the information about the workshop. What are we going to do? How are we going to do? It has got a downloadable PDF, which is the training outline. You can just download that. It has got registration links. You can go register there as well. Even if you're watching this through YouTube, the YouTube video, underneath the video, I mean, there are some space to write that stuff. So in the information underneath the video, you'll have all the links. You can go register through that link as well. And you have all the information available in those links as well. Now, coming back to questions. Now, if you have had any questions about the training or any questions about DAX, go on, shoot. I am ready. And let me just come back to stop sharing the screen and come back to my photo. Right. All right, go ahead, people. Ask questions. Gurpreet is asking for me to organize financial modeling training. Gurpreet, I used to do financial modeling a lot in the past, but off late I've lost touch of financial modeling, so I don't really want to teach you something that I've lost touch with. But there are some great articles on my site. You can just go and learn from that. And you can write a mail to me. I'll suggest you some resources from where you can learn financial modeling. Any other questions? Please go ahead and ask me questions. I'm here, you're here, ask questions. Gurpreet, would you upload this video? Yes, of course. I will upload the video for sure. I mean, you can also come and take a look at the same link once again, and the video is going to be there. Yes. Any other questions you have? So sorry. So when I was running the presentation and I was running, excuse me, the Excel, I wasn't able to read through the comments. So if you have a question, please write it in the comments once again. Where can we get help on DAX expressions? So MSDN is a great site. It's a Microsoft developer community, and they write a lot about DAX measures. So if you just go and Google about DAX measures, you will get all the information about that. Plus, there are a lot of bloggers also. I am personally also blogging in a big way about DAX and stuff. So the top selling products that I just discussed, the entire article is there on my blog, so you can just take a look at that as well. And sooner or later, you will have more videos, more information about that on my blog as well. But for now, if you want to really want to go in depth about DAX and learn it through the web, please go ahead and just Google it up, and you will get plenty of resources about DAX. Sandeep asks comparison between DAX, PowerQuery, Excel, and VBA, VBZ. I am hoping that you meant VBA. So, okay. VBA, I believe, is a thing of past. I mean, you can do a lot of development through VBA as well, but most of your data cleansing needs and data automation needs can now be handled through PowerQuery. The benefit is that PowerQuery helps you work with large volumes of data, perform extremely sophisticated calculations without any code. What DAX can help you do is DAX can help you automate calculations which you weren't able to do that earlier inside Excel. So that is where DAX comes in. In terms of richness of analytics, I believe PowerQuery is used for just data cleaning and not really analytics. In terms of data analysis, I would use DAX. And Excel, you've been working with Excel. Excel is a great flexible tool, and I mean, but it has got its limitation in terms of calculations and size and data handling and stuff. Is Power BI courses will it be learned from basic level and yes. So I will start Power BI from the basic, and I'll teach you Power Query first. I'll teach you DAX first, and then I'll teach you visualizations. Everything is going to be from basic, assuming that you know nothing about it, and I'll start from absolutely scratch where I'll assume that you know nothing about it, and then I'll just build up the base from there. So yes, it's going to be from absolute beginner level. I mean, to the level where I'll teach you how to load the data, how the screen looks, where are the options and stuff like that. Anil, can I watch the webinar in the future as well? Of course, brother, you can watch the webinar in the future as well. Sure. When to use calculated columns? It's a good question. I will say that use a calculated column when you want to place something in rows, columns, or in the slicers. This is the benchmark that you have to follow for using calculated column. But most of the stuff that you're trying to do can be done with measures, unless you're trying to place them in rows, columns, or slicer of the pivot table. Is it best to create SQL views to analyze and visualize in Power BI, or just connect tables in the database? So I've not worked with SQL, but for whatever I have learned in terms of training and consulting, what I generally advise my client is to get a smaller data set inside Power BI, create relationships, and then start working with the DAX measures to kind of really empower the analytics. I'm not sure if I did answer your question because I haven't really worked with SQL before. I'm just the front end business problem solving guy. Is Power Query and Power View also available in Excel? Yes, Power Query and Power View is available in Excel, but it depends upon which Excel are you using, and you might have to download that from the web. But both of them are free, yes. Large dataset exist on the internet, which are typically used in graphic packages and Python. Do you have any experience using in PowerPivot such datasets? So I'm not sure, Brian, which datasets are you speaking about? But if you're talking about data volumes, yes, I have experience in handling enormous data volumes. But enormous is again a subjective word. If you could be specific and tell me what is the size of data that you're looking at, maybe I have experience in handling that amount of data, or maybe I don't. But that is very, very subjective. Any other questions you have, people? So what I'm going to do is I am also going to link the Excel file on my blog, and you can download that. And also I'll link the Excel file in which I have worked in the video underneath the YouTube, and you can also download that. So it's going to be helpful that way. Can all the expressions written in PowerPoint will work directly in PowerPivot? Yes, yes, absolutely yes. So if you create a data model which has got data and has got measures, and you open Power BI, you can export all of that work of Excel into Power BI directly. But I believe the reverse is not possible. If you create something in Power BI, but you can't really take that to Excel, but if you create something in Excel using Power Pivot, you can take that to Power BI. Have you used Excel 2019 by any chance? I'm not sure if that is out yet, but I'm working with Excel 2016, and that is a subscription version. So whenever it is out, I'm sure my computer is going to be updated up immediately. Any other questions, people, about the software, Power Pivot, tax measures, training, anything you have a question? I'll be helpful. I'll be happy to answer. All right, I'm just gonna wait for another 2 minutes. If you don't have any questions, I'll just call it a day. Um, with heavy data, Power Pivot, Excel gets hanged. Sunil. So Sunil, I will suggest you to use a 64-bit Power Pivot rather than a 32-bit Power Pivot. And can you explain how heavy is your data? Are these available free for download? Absolutely, yes. So these add-ins are available free for download. If you go to Goodly and you click on BI training, you have the links there. You can go download from those links as well. Where best can we use Power BI in quality tools? Well, Sabri, I need to take a look at the data that you work with. That where can you use Power BI? But Power BI essentially can create a lot of reports. Not just create it, can also automate it. So if you are working with a lot of data in your quality tools kind of stuff, then yes, you can use Power BI. Sunil Singh says approximately 7 to 8 lakh rows of data. This is absolutely no problem at all. 7 to 8 lakh rows of data is absolutely nothing for Power Pivot. I believe this will work in 32-bit Power Pivot as well. But if it isn't working, I will suggest you to move on to 64-bit Power Pivot. Hey Atul, thanks. Is there any grouping of DAX function as in any function library? I'm not sure if I understood your question, Avish. Yes. Oh, yes. I think I understood your question. Are you saying that Are the questions grouped in any particular order, like logical functions, statistical functions, lookup functions? Yes, there are groups of functions. So you have time intelligence functions, you have logical functions, you have all these kind of functions available in PowerPivot, grouped under different categories. Excel 2016 and 365. Yes, it is available with Excel subscription version 365. The version that I'm using is Pro Plus, and it's available in there. I believe the enterprise version also has PowerPivot, but Microsoft has recently made an announcement. It's there in all the versions now, but I'm not sure when are they going to roll that out. So maybe you can just read up on that. Questions, people? Any questions? Tools in market, why Power BI? It's just a matter of choice. I have stuck with Microsoft-based products. They are incredibly powerful and helpful, and they are quite cheap as well and flexible as well. And Power BI standard version is absolutely free. All the measures, all the visualizations, they're absolutely free. So why pay for a product when you're getting an absolutely terrific product for free? So that's why I just stuck to Power BI. Add-ins are available in default in 2016. Just need to enable it. Yes, I believe the add-ins are by default available in the correct SKU of Excel, and you just need to activate that. That's right. Okay, people. Maybe I'll just attend like last one or two questions. Do you organize any classroom session? No, I don't. I don't organize any classroom training. I don't have a classroom. What you're seeing at the back is my home office. Um, and I don't have a classroom. I just like do sessions for companies, and I do online training, and I write a blog. Don't have a classroom. So it's just one more minute. I'll stick around and I'll go after that. If you have any questions, ask. DAX functions are powerful, it is true, but when to use which function is very confusing. That's exactly what the training is all about, Avish. Can we write our own functions and include them in DAX? You can do that in PowerQuery. You can make your own functions, but I don't believe as of now you have the capability of making your own functions in DAX. Do you provide VBA online training? No, I don't have that as of now. Okay, people, I'm just going to call it a day. It's been a pleasure interacting with you. Thank you so much for being on the webinar. I'm sorry about yesterday. We goofed up. I'm happy that it happened today. And if you would like to join the training, you know where to go. Go to goodly.co.in, click on BI training, and I'll be happy to start the session on the 12th of August. And everything is there on that link. You can just read through that. Also, underneath the YouTube video, you have all the link. You can read through that. If you have any questions which are still remaining, please feel free to email it to me or write it in the comments here. And I'll be very happy to answer those questions as well. I'll provide everything that we have discussed in the video today, in the webinar today, in the Excel file. I'll give it to you where you can just download that as well and start working with that as well. Thank you so much. Go sleep. It's been a long time, and it's 10 o'clock here in India. Wherever you are from, I'm sure it's Sunday there, and you might have your own things to do. Thank you so much, and I'll maybe just talk to you soon through a blog or something. Cheers, and